As April stated, my name is Matthew Catanese. I'm the director at Financial Aid at College for Creative Studies. I've been in the position for a little over a year now, and I've been in financial aid for over 10 years. So I know a lot about financial aid. So like April said, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Allison, my financial aid counselor, she will be monitoring the chat, answering the questions as they come in. But towards the end, we will open it up to question and answer period. So if you have any questions at that point, we'll go ahead and tackle them. So we're here to talk about financial aid and the fun that it is. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about what is financial aid, the categories, types, and sources of financial aid, the cost of attendance, the expected family contribution, which is derived from the FAFSA application, financial need, and then we're going to touch on the free application for federal financial aid, so the FAFSA. So what is financial aid? As many of you may know, financial aid consists of funds provided to students and families to help pay for post-secondary education expenses. This includes federal, state, institutional, and outside resources. Types of financial aid includes loans, scholarships, grants, and work study. Now your gift aid, scholarships, and grants, those are generally earned either merit-based or based on meeting specific requirements. Loans and work study are self-help aid. So what that means is that they are offered to you. You have to either accept them or you can decline them. So student loans are obviously loans that need to be paid back. And then work study employment is either on or off campus jobs that are directly related to your degree or as part of the college. So sources of financial aid, you have your federal government, you have your states, you have your colleges and universities, your private resources, and then employers. So the federal government supplies federal work study, Pell Grant, federal loans. The states, they include state grants, such as the Michigan Tuition Grant, Michigan Competitive Scholarship, TIP, the Tuition Incentive Program. Colleges and universities, this is your merit-based awards. So CCS offers all applicants the opportunity to earn a CCS merit award based on applying to the college. And this is based off of your portfolio and your academic standing. Private sources are like outside scholarships. So this could be anywhere from fast food joints to big box stores to your local churches. They grant scholarships. The one thing that I like to mention in all my presentations is that I had a young lady on a Taco Bell scholarship. She doesn't work at Taco Bell, rarely eats at Taco Bell, but they granted her $15,000 just because she applied and she met the requirements. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be an employee or know where to go. It just, you got to look for them. And then employers, whether you, the student, are working or your parents are working, it's always best to check with your HR department to see if you have tuition benefits buried in your benefit package. I know when I went to college many moons ago, my dad worked at Chrysler. So we got, part of his benefit package was we got, I think, $2,000 of dependent tuition reimbursement. And so they would give us $2,000 as long as we earned a C or higher, then we didn't have to pay the money back. So that's a plus, but we wouldn't have known unless my dad looked for it. So scholarships. Scholarships are a big part of financial aid. This type of funding does not need to be paid back. It is awarded based on merit, skill, or unique characteristics, generally received from the school or from private companies and organizations. CCS Merit Scholarship. So CCS Scholarships and Awards, applicants to CCS are automatically considered once they complete their admission requirements. The awards are based on portfolio review and academic achievement. And in order to maintain your CCS Merit Scholarship throughout the 4 years that you are with us, you have to maintain a cumulative GPA of a 2.5 or higher. Other CCS scholarships include the Classic Art Scholarships. So for high school students who win a gold or silver medal at a national level, the gold medal recipients receive $2,000 per year, which is renewable for 3 years, so a total of 4. The silver medal recipients receive $1,000 per year, and again, that is renewable for 3 years, so a total of 4 years. One scholarship that is new for this year is the Valet Scholarship. The estimated scholarship amount is $50,000 over 4 years, so the recipient would receive $12,500 per year. This scholarship is open to first-time freshmen majoring in fine arts, which I believe was just changed to art education. You must be admitted to CCS, and applicants must complete an application. The admitted status and application must be completed before December 1st to be eligible. And I've included the URL for the scholarship application if you feel that you meet the requirements. Grants, these are funds that don't usually have to be paid back. They're awarded based on financial need. They are generally received from the school, state, or federal programs. And in order to be eligible for most grants, you must file a FAFSA. So some of the grants include Michigan Tuition Grant or Competitive Scholarship, your federal Pell Grant, Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, and your CCS Tuition Grants. So there's a combination of state, federal, and institutional grants. Direct loans. So this is money students and parents borrow to help pay for college expenses. Repayment usually begins after education is finished, as long as the student stays enrolled at least 6 credits. Loans include subsidized and unsubsidized, which are in the student's name. The only difference between these two loans is that the unsubsidized is interest bearing, and the current interest rate for this year is at 2.75%. Dependent students have the ability to ask their parents to help with their educational expenses by applying for the Federal Parent Plus loan. There is a soft credit check associated with this loan, so there is a application process that the parent would need to go through. Once the application is completed, then we would submit that to the Department of Education, who would determine whether or not to approve the loan. This loan is interest bearing at 5.3%, and the parent has 2 repayment options, which payments can begin within 60 days of the first disbursement, or they can be deferred until 6 months after the student graduates or drops below half-time enrollment, which is below 6 credits. Work, study, employment. So this allows students to earn money to help pay educational costs. For CCS, it's employment on campus. For those that do not fill out a FAFSA, you are eligible for on-campus, so institutional work study. That may not be the case at other institutions, but CCS offers work study opportunities to all of its students. We cannot guarantee jobs, so jobs open sporadically throughout the year, and it's up to the student to apply if they feel that they meet the requirements. Job postings can be reviewed online via Blackboard on the financial aid page. And for those that are international students or non-citizens, there is institutional financial aid available. There's the International Student Grant, CCS Scholarship, or the merit-based, and then all, as mentioned before, international students and non-citizens are eligible for work-study opportunities. So other financing sources. So your private scholarships, private educational loans, so that's like your Sallie Mae, your Discover Loans, your Citizens Bank, or any other lending institution that is offering educational loans. College savings plans, so the MET plans, the 529 plans, employer tuition reimbursement, veterans education benefits or VA benefits, and then we also offer institutional payment plans. So our payment plans are semester-based, and it splits the remaining balance into up to 5 equal payments, and students or parents can sign up for those. So now that we talked about the sources of financial aid and a little bit about the different types, we're going to go ahead and move forward and talk about the cost of attendance. So what is the cost of attendance? So this is your sticker price. This is the overall cost of the cost that the school has determined that it would cost the student to attend year to year. So you have your tuition and fees, your room and board, your books and supplies, transportation, and miscellaneous expenses. This cost of attendance is a generic figure that is assigned to all students, and the only difference is the housing component. So when you fill out the FAFSA application, you will answer your housing and your intentions, whether it's going to be on campus or off campus or with parent. That's how you determine your cost. That's how the school determines the cost of attendance. Now your tuition and fees and room and board, now those are billable costs. So those are what the school would charge and you would be responsible for. Books and supplies, transportation, miscellaneous expenses, those are generic amounts assigned to all students so that all students have a level playing field. So the expected family contribution, or the EFC. The expected family contribution is determined by FAFSA and by the information that you put into the FAFSA application. It's a measurement of student and family's ability to pay post-secondary educational expenses. This takes into consideration the student contribution as well as a parent contribution for those that are determined to be dependent students. The EFC number helps determine need-based financial aid eligibility. So what is need-based financial aid eligibility? Well, the calculation that schools use is the cost of attendance, so that's sticker price, minus the EFC, which is determined by FAFSA, and that determines your financial need. So this financial need then determines grant and scholarship eligibility, subsidized loan eligibility, and other need-based aid that students may earn or receive. Now this is the fun part of the presentation, the FAFSA application. If you're filling it out the first time, I'm going to tell you, don't be scared. There's a lot of information that it captures, and I promise it will not take you nearly as long to complete it from next year on, because it saves a lot of that data. So the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, it collects demographic and financial information. This information is used to calculate the expected family contribution number. Colleges use the EFC to determine financial aid eligibility. It is available in both English and Spanish, and it is completed online the following URL. This is the preferred method. However, there is a paper application, or you can contact FAFSA directly and fill it out with one of their representatives. So the timeline for FAFSA completion. The FAFSA must be completed every year. Even if you don't think that you are going to qualify for financial aid, it is encouraged that you complete an annual FAFSA. At the very least, it'll qualify you for federal student loans. However, based on our school, we utilize the FAFSA to help determine any further institutional aid eligibility. And some of our institutional aid, such as the CCS tuition grant, is dependent on that annual FAFSA being completed. If you are going to be attending school starting fall of 2021, you will want to complete the 2021-2022 FAFSA on or after October 1st. I always encourage students to complete the FAFSA application as close to October 1st as possible. That way, if schools have limited aid eligibility due to a small budget or a small allocation, usually schools award that type of aid on a first come, first served basis, which is determined by the FAFSA completion date. For the state of Michigan residents, you should file the FAFSA application no later than March 1st. I always encourage at least 2 weeks prior to that to allow adequate processing time. And this will help determine if you're eligible for any type of state grant or scholarships. Now, they are sticklers. So even if you file it March 2nd at 12:01, they will not make any adjustments to that. You unfortunately will be left out of the loop for any type of state aid. The CCS admissions early action deadline this year is December 1st. So I would encourage you to get in all of your admissions information in so that they can determine your CCS merit awards. Generally speaking, those that apply early get the top scholarships, but that's not always the case. I can't say that for 100% for certain, but most of the top earning scholarships go for those that submit all of their application information by December 1st and are admitted to CCS. So eligibility requirements for the FAFSA. Must be enrolling in a degree seeking program. Must have completed high school or its equivalent, so GED. Citizenship status. So you have to be a U.S. citizen, a permanent resident, a resident of the freely associated states, or other eligible non-citizen status. And for males that are between 18 and 26, you are required to register for selective service. Selective service is also known as the draft. So the FAFSA information helps collect student demographics on the school selection, so you can add up to 10 schools so that your FAFSA is distributed to those schools so that they can determine your financial aid eligibility. It helps determine your dependency status. If you are considered a dependent, it'll collect your parent demographics and the financial information, which again helps determine your expected family contribution number. So the student demographic, it will collect your name, address, email address. It'll determine your citizenship status, marital status, and your high school completion status. So this is a copy of the paper form. It looks much different online, and it'll prompt you through online. And again, the FAFSA keeps a lot of this information from years to come. That way, when you go to do the FAFSA renewal, generally speaking, you're just updating the school selection section and then your financial information for both you and your parents if you're dependent. Your school selection, it will ask you to input your high school information and if you've graduated. It'll then prompt you to input up to 10 college or universities you're interested in attending. For those interested in CCS, which I hope all of you are, you will add our school code of 006771 on your FAFSA application so that when we begin awarding for the upcoming school year, we'll be able to mail out a award letter which will detail out all of your grants, scholarships, and student loans. Now, for the state of Michigan students, it is required that you put our school code first so that we can, so you can appear on CCS's state roster, which then we can get you awarded those Michigan grants and scholarships if you meet the eligibility requirements. So dependency status. So the big thing is that students think by moving out, providing for themselves, working, making a decent wage, that automatically makes them independent, which that does not mean, that's not necessarily the case. So the big deciding factor to determine your dependency status is, were you born before January 1st, 1998? If you cannot answer that question yes, then you cannot answer any of the following questions yes, then you are considered a dependent student, which at that point, your parent information would be required in order to move forward. So the parent demographics. The one thing for some reason parents can't figure out is their marital status. Surprisingly, this is a very tricky question to answer for a lot of parents. And this is what trips a lot of parents up. So this question specifically asks, as of today, what is the marital status of your parents? So if your parents were married and are now divorced, you would answer divorced or separated. If your parent is remarried and you are living with that parent and step-parent, they would answer that married or remarried. And then if both parents are not married but living together, then you would answer unmarried and both legal parents living together. And then of course you'd put your marital status date and you would proceed. Parent tax information. So this information you're going to get from your 2019 federal taxes. By now, 95, if not 100% of all students and parents should have filed their 2019 federal taxes. It usually asks for the parent's adjusted gross income, any income tax that the parents paid, and then the parent earnings. Now, what is a good thing is that the FAFSA application offers the use of the IRS data retrieval tool, which is the quickest way to transfer the tax information directly from the IRS website to the FAFSA. This eliminates many inconsistencies and wrong data, and it also lessens the chance of being selected for verification. Once the parent has completed the financial aspects of the FAFSA, you then will move on to the student tax filing information, much of the same way. So if the student didn't file taxes, they would indicate that, and then it would proceed to the end. Again, the IRS data retrieval tool is the quickest way to transfer the tax information. And it also lessens the chance of being selected for verification. Now, what that means, selected for verification, that means the Department of Education selects anywhere from 30 to 40% of all financial aid applicants. There's no rhyme or reason why they select them. And basically, they put the burden on the school to verify the FAFSA data. So making sure that the data that was inputted is accurate and true. So they're not calling you liars. They're not doing anything like that. You shouldn't feel, you know, selected or picked out of the bunch. You know, realistically, it's almost a guarantee you would be selected at least one time throughout the 4 or 5 years that you attend school. So don't be worried about it. So after all of that, you are going to sign and submit the FAFSA application. By doing this, you are going to have to set up an FSA ID, which I encourage all students and parents to do so at least 3 days prior to filling out the FAFSA application. You will go to the FSAID.ed.gov to set those up. It is used, the FSA ID is used for FAFSA completion and allows access to other U.S. Department of Education websites. It is, once you complete it and you're assigned an FSA ID and password and it's verified through the Social Security Administration, your login information for all the years that you complete the FAFSA application. So I would encourage you to keep this in a safe spot, because I cannot tell you how many students or parents will complete the FSA ID, will be assigned one, and then for the life of them, they cannot remember it from year to year. So put it somewhere safe. So what to expect after FAFSA is submitted. So the student submits the FAFSA. The FAFSA sends it to the central processing system for processing. Once they process it and determine that it's valid or invalid, then they will send the FAFSA to the school that you input on the FAFSA application, and the school will then review it and get you awarded. Generally speaking, CCS starts awarding in January. Which that was the earliest that we've gone out, which was last year. Of course, leadership will tell us we need to get it out, you know, December 1st, but with system set up and all of that, you can anticipate your awards to come probably middle of January from CCS at the very earliest. So, if a valid email address is provided to FAFSA, FAFSA will also send you what's called a SAR. This is basically your FAFSA data broken down by field and what was inputted on the FAFSA. Special circumstance, this is going to be huge. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, due to income loss, job loss, and many other things. So we understand that the 2019 federal tax information may not be a true picture of what your current financial situation is. So at CCS and at other schools, you have the opportunity to request a special circumstance. And what the school does then determines the type of information that is needed to move forward with the review and to determine if there is a significant impact from 2019 to current that would justify making FAFSA changes. So these are conditions that exist that can't be documented on FAFSA. The Office of Financial Aid will ask you to send a written explanation and documentation so that we can review it. The college will review the request for additional information and at that point make a decision on whether to move forward or not. The decisions made at the Office of Financial Aid are final and they cannot be appealed to the U.S. Department of Education. So it's not our jobs to turn down students frivolously or without reason. We have to review all documentation on a as needed basis to determine, you know, A, is it going to be beneficial, and B, is it going to significantly impact the financial aid award. So if that just about wraps up things for the presentation. If you have follow-up questions, or if you want to get in touch about a special circumstance or things of that sort, you will want to contact our office, the Office of Financial Aid. You can contact us by phone or by email, and we'll be able to assist you with your questions, or if you have, or if you just want to touch bases, figure out where you're at in the process. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open it up for questions.